Hickok 45, the Grammar Commando, coming at you again with some boring grammar that you could use, actually, maybe. You remember our last lesson. I'm sure many of you watched the video repeatedly, right? We talked about some irregular verbs. I'm pretty irregular as a person. These verbs are irregular. You notice, as a little quick review before we start in tomorrow, in today's lesson, John has drove to get some federal ammo. Appreciate federal's help. 22 Plinkster has ran to get Zeke at SDI. Someone else who helps us. Okay, so use that to give you an example of what we talked about. Who can correct those verbs? If you've been watching those videos, you can do it. You're right. Bill in San Antonio. Yeah, I see you sitting there with a pizza on your computer screen. You need to clean that off. Yep, you're right though. Pizza on your computer and lap or not, it should be driven. Good job there, Bill. R-I-V-E-N. Helping verb, has driven. There's no such thing as has drove. Oh man, don't say that. And who can get the next one? 22 Plinkster has ran to get Zeke. Mary Lou in Knoxville, Tennessee. Good job. It's not ran, it's run, isn't it? That one is misused a lot. Run, has run. Again, helping verb. 22 Plinkster has run to get Zeke at SDI. Has run, not ran. Hear it so much. As I said in the last one, repeatedly, these are the kinds of things that take you out of the category, at least in appearance, of being an educated person. Someone who made it past middle school, paid attention in middle school. It really, I know it hurts to hear that, but it just kind of marks you. You don't have to be a genius. Look at me, I'm not. And I had to tell you that, right? But if you can speak reasonably well, the basics, at least people can't pin you as, did you hear what he said? He must have really been asleep in freshman English or middle school English. That's what you want to avoid mainly, all right? Everybody has trouble with some things, lay and lie and different usages, right? There's nothing sacred about grammar. It's just that some of it is just right or wrong. It's cut and dried, okay? And look at that other video because I went into the helping verb and all that. So anyway, just a little quick summary of what we did before there. This is one of, and we're going to look at today, another one of these kinds of things that can very quickly put you into the I failed middle school category. And you don't want to be there because you're probably not. You may have a college degree, and if you're walking around saying that I have drove, and all that, I have ran, it's like you don't have a college degree, all right? Whereas you might be able to work equations that I can't, and things that you've forgotten more than I know about all sorts of things. But if you're saying we should have ran over there, we should have drove over there, you sound very uneducated. Okay, sorry. Had to tell the truth there though. Okay, now what I want to talk about today is case. The old me and the I and that kind of thing. When you use those, him, he. Well, generally it's not a problem. You're not going to say if you're past 3 years old, you're not going to say, him brought me some water, him brought me some new ammo. You're not going to say that, right? The main thing I wanted to talk about is compound pronouns or compound parts. When you have them compound, it becomes a little more of an issue sometimes for some people. It's another one of those things that I notice people misusing a lot. But it's simple, though. It should not be misused because it's not that complicated. The things we're talking about in grammar here in these two videos so far is pretty simple stuff, very cut and dried. It's pretty easy to figure it out if you're writing it or you're speaking it to know which to use. All right, so we're covering really elementary stuff that a lot of people misuse. That's why I'm starting with it, and that's what I did in my classes. Let's get the easy stuff fixed, okay? And the obvious stuff, the stuff that, again, makes you look like you slept through middle school. Let's get that stuff out of your system. Then if you want to work on a few other things, that's good. All right, well, let's talk compound parts. If you say, well, here again, let's put you back in third grade. If you are an educated person, you're not a high school dropout, you even have a college degree or something, or you're 25, you're 30, and you're still saying something like me and Joe, you know, bought, my handwriting's terrible, isn't it? I abused my students with that for years. The ammo, I'm writing fast too, because I know we don't have much time, right? You got to go. If you're still saying me and Joe bought the ammo, me and Joe went to the movies last night, you know, me and Mary Lou went to the movies. Oh, we know what you mean, but boy, that again, it shows a lack of pride, really, a lack of even appearing to be educated. It's kind of a lazy or a sloppy way to speak. You need to get that out of your system. That's not really needing to understand some complicated grammar rule, is it? Everybody knows it's Joe first, and it's not me. It's not Joe and me bought the ammo. You know, it's Joe and I. Yeah, we know that. Okay, everybody knows that. Don't say me and somebody did something. That's just, it's not good. Not good. All right. I'm going to erase the Joe just here to illustrate something too. If I take Joe out of there, it's I bought the ammo, right? Not me bought the ammo. You know, that's like 8-month-old child. It's I bought the ammo. And that's the thing I wanted to talk about today. That's the main thing. Case. When you have compound parts, and I hear this misused a lot by educated people, newscasters, sportscasters, and that sort of thing sometimes. And it is something you have to think about kind of on the run. Just like I pointed out here, you really, it should be ingrained in you. And I know your parents have tried to ingrain it into you to say, and I'll just write in there, Joe and I. You know, how many times have people been corrected? When I was young, my parents, you know, if I said, well, me and Bill want to go do that, it's Joe, Bill and me, Bill and I, Bill and I, Bill and I. You know, they try to get that into your head, just like I was trying to do there a minute ago. Get that in your head. It's whoever else you're talking about, and I want to go to the movies. Want to go shoot. We want to go to the range. Okay? So we've had that stuck into our heads and hammered into our heads so much that what we end up doing is this. Send the rifle to Harry and I. Okay, so that's where you're going to send that rifle, to Harry and I. And we're going to fight over it. Because we have been hammered with that so much, so that's got to be right. I'm going to sound like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to use good grammar for a change. Mom, Dad, I'm not going to say Harry and me. Well, you know where I'm going, don't you? A lot of you. Some of you don't have a clue yet. That's why I'm here trying to save you from bad grammar. I is nominative case, not that you need to know that. It's a subject, using a subject, piece of a clause or a sentence. And this is not a predicate. This is objective. To is a preposition. So anything over here that's the object of that should be objective case, which means me. Okay, so it would be send the rifle to Harry and me. In that case, literally that case, no pun intended, it is me. Send the rifle to Harry and me. All right? You know, it could be, you know, just anything. You listen to newscast, anybody who talks a lot, and you'll hear compound parts come up like that, and you'll catch those because people are afraid. Well, for one thing, like I said, if I even said, like, Harry and me want to go to the movies, Harry and me want to go to the shooting range, most people would catch that as being wrong. They just would, you know. It's not as bad as me and Harry want to go to the shooting range, but even Harry and me, oh, come on, kids, it's Harry and I. Harry and I, Harry and I. It's a subject, Harry and I. So we get that in our heads. And so when we're saying something like this, or even writing it, it just sounds wrong. Me, I shouldn't be referring to me. It's always I, you know, I want to do it, or Larry and I want to do it, you know. So we have a hard time saying that. And in fact, I remember in a comment, oh gosh, it's been a while, on a video, or maybe it was something I said in the video. That's what it was. I said in the video, I think. Someone called me up on that because it was right after we did the other grammar lesson, I think, and said, Mr. Grammar, Mr. Grammar here, Grammar Man, I caught you and you said this, and I had to, you know, explain to him, no, actually it was correct. I remember when I said it in the video, there are people who will think this is incorrect. Anyway, it's correct. Harry me, because it's a good way generally to tell you the answer here if you're not sure, especially if you're writing, you got time to think about it. Send the rifle to, take a Harry out of there. Send the rifle to who? Me. You wouldn't say to I. See, that'll usually get it for you. Not always. There's some other situations where it won't, but in most cases it will. Send the Harry to me, so it should be me. So the case doesn't change. And you've got a preposition here, and you've got, say, Harry. They both function the same way. Both of those words, they're objects of that preposition, so they're going to be objective case. It doesn't matter what the words are. It could be two pronouns, whatever. They've got to be objective case. So if instead of Harry, you're just saying to him, it'd be him, it wouldn't be he. Oh, you'll hear that too. Send the rifle to he and I. Oh, that sounds so correct, doesn't it? Send that to he and I. There's something about using nominative case, the subjective case, the part that's usually over here in the subject, like he and I are going to the movies. That's correct, yeah. And it just sounds correct. Sounds like something about it. It connotes good grammar for some reason. But when it's over here as an object in some way, it's him and me. Send the rifle to him and me is correct, okay? You'll hear that used incorrectly quite often, quite often. Now, that's not what I'd call a grammar felony if you do that. Like send the rifle to Harry and I. That's not as big a felony as a grammar felony as saying, you know, they should have ran or should have drove, you know, those kinds of verbs used incorrectly. But still, it's dead wrong. And it's black and white, blue and white. It's cut and dried. There's no arguing about it. It's just dead wrong. And, you know, some people will catch it. All right. So watch for that. Again, if it's over here as your subject, you know, it's he and I. He and I bought some new pistols. He and I bought some new pistols. Then they sent him and me those pistols. They sent him and me because we're receiving the action. That's what an object does. They sent him and me those pistols. They sent, see, the action's going in this direction to him and me, or to Bill and me, Joe and me. It doesn't matter. It's still going to be me. All right, and I'm slopping that up there, I realize. So anyway, that's case. That has to do with case. Was there anything else about that I was going to point out? I'm not going to take as long on this one. Okay, so case. So think about those things, and with one last point here I want to make is about whom. Who and whom, that's a case issue too. And this is not something that will get you into trouble as much, because most people just go ahead and say who, because they're not sure about whom. So one point there is, they both mean the same thing, right? But just always use who if you're not sure. That's my point here. Just don't use whom unless you know what you're doing. It's objective case. It's like me or him, you know, instead of, and then who is like he or I, you know, or we, okay? So whenever you would use that, you know, you would use who, that kind of thing. So it gets kind of complicated in the sentence you're speaking. Sometimes it's not to whom it may concern, to whom, object preposition to, it's more obvious there. Or if someone asks you, you gave that to whom? Most people see that with after to. You gave it to whom? You know, so, and you know, that's not too risky. When you get into troubles, when you use it in a more complex sentence, and it's generally not all that difficult. However, the point is, if you use whom and you've used it incorrectly, it should be who. It's going out on a limb, and then you kind of broke the limb. Okay, you're trying to, I don't know, there's something about using whom, it indicates that you know this stuff. Most people don't use whom much unless they know grammar, they understand the structure. All right, so once you use that word, you pull out your bag of tricks, your grammar, make sure you use it correctly, because somebody's going to notice, oh, he thought he was educated, he's trying to sound educated, and he used it incorrectly. Let me give you an example of how it can get you in trouble here. Like if I say give, let's see, we got too much ammo. Give the AR-15. How about that? Give the AR-15 to whom? Now, whom and whomever is the same word basically. To whomever deserves it. How's that? Whomever deserves it. All right. You got a to, you got a preposition here. You got object preposition, don't you? Give the AR to Harry. Give it to whom? If it gives a question, someone mumbled, said, give this to so-and-so. You said, give it to whom would be correct. However, this is incorrect because the object of that preposition is actually this entire, well, the whole thing is a prepositional phrase, but this is a little clause within that prepositional phrase. Whomever deserves it. You've got another verb there. Deserves. Whom is the subject, so it's got to be who. So it'd be whoever. Whoever deserves it. So give the AR-15 to whoever deserves it would be correct. Whereas it sounds like it ought to be, because it comes after to, should be whom or whomever, but it's not. All right, so it can get a little tricky, but my point there is just don't use who or whom, whomever. I mean, don't use whomever or whom, use who. Unless you kind of know what you're doing, especially if you're writing something and all of that. All right. Sometimes it's obvious, like if it's after an obvious preposition, like you bought that present for whom? Not a problem. But avoid whom, unless you know what you're doing. That's the lesson there, and because that has to do with case, just like him and I and all that. So I thought I might throw that at you. And I could talk grammar all day, and I know most of you wish I would. You'd like this to be a 2-hour video. But I need to wrap it up. The main thing is there are things that can kind of sabotage your education, your appearance of being educated. Not that that's the most important thing. And when I say educated, I don't mean you have to sound like a MIT professor. But there are just some things that you can utter with your tongue that put you in the 4th grade. And you're not. You're actually pretty smart, and you might be fairly well educated. You just have never gotten some of that stuff straightened out. Kind of like me in math. I rely on spreadsheets. I can build a spreadsheet, but there's some math and equations that I don't know, it's kind of still Greek to me, and I don't even care about it. But the only way you would know about that is if I told you. I'd hate to go back and take a geometry course tomorrow, or some advanced math. I really would. I'd be fairly pathetic at it, but I don't need it. And I don't talk about it. I don't even care about it. I can build a spreadsheet. I can do any kind of math I want, calculations. So you don't know that. There's no way you would know that, really. However, most of you walk around talking and even writing, and so this is revealed. Just like if I had to reveal my knowledge of algebra or geometry every day. I'd probably have some shoring up to do there in my knowledge base. So anyway, grammar doesn't make a person, but you want to come off as at least as intelligent and as educated as you are. So don't say things, try not to say things that put you, again, back at that 4th or 5th grade level. Those irregular verbs are a great thing to review. And then, some things like this too. And we'll study some other things. How's that? If you'll send me a check, just sign on there for grammar services, okay? Life is good.